Welcome everybody, welcome to the channel. Now this video is the first one of a set of a few videos that I'm doing. It's a busman's holiday, literally it's a busman's holiday because I'm working at home. I've had some Alcove cupboards fitted and it's now the time I need to crack on. It's been a few weeks since these have been fitted. I've got to get them painted. So we're doing a series, there'll be a playlist on this. It's a room makeover. We're going to be talking about painting ceilings, walls and mainly these spraying of the Alcove cabinets. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be painting these Alcove cabinets with an HVLP. I've got a 1.5 needle in there. I'm using a remote pot because this holds more, get the cables out of the way, the pipes. This holds more paint than having a pot underneath or the actual gravity or suction feed pots actually on the gun. So the idea is I'm going to show you in this video how I'm going to approach painting these. Now when I say painting it, I'm going to be talking about the priming of these cabinets because the painting process is virtually exactly the same. It's just that we're using a different paint. But I do want to just talk about how you approach something like this, because some people say, how do you paint them? I'm going to say it's not rocket science because it's only painting, but particularly if you are using a sprayer, and I'm using a sprayer, it makes it a little bit more difficult. And those that know about spraying are going to say exactly the same as what I'm going to say. The fallout dust that you get from spraying lands on your shelves. So how do you get around it? Well, clearly getting around it would be, let's just get a brush on it and a little roller and a microfiber roller. These would come up lovely. But where's the fun in that? We don't want to do that. We want to spray it. So the principles, and you'll see me spraying it in a little while, the principles are, I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up. I'm going to make sure that the insides of the cabinets are done, the outer doors, and work my way around and work my way up from the lower shelf all the way up to the top. Now, if you spray your actual shelf first and it's got a wet coating on it, when you go around the sides and the top, any wet fallout should nicely sit into a wet coating and not leave you too much of a textured finish. I'm going to say to you, experiment and try it for yourself. There's some instances where I paint these and what I'll do, I'll literally leave the shelves till last. I'll go over them with the primers, I'll get them all painted and you get a little bit of fallout and probably a little bit of dust on the surface. But when I come to the finish, how I've sometimes done it before is literally get all the area of the shelf and get all that area painted first. Don't worry about your shelves, leave them till last. I come back with a fine pad, sanding pad, you know, the Merca Golds. I've got one in my pocket now, just a fine one. I pad them down. I have a microfiber cloth that's wet. Just wipe any dust that might be in the air that's settled and then literally finish doing these. But there's some people who say you can do it in one. And I know you can do it in one, but we are experimenting and we're trying to get the information out there that people can have a go themselves. But what I will be doing today, particularly with this primer, I will be spraying the shelves, spraying the sides, going across the underside, coming back across the shelf, sides, underside and the back, and trying to do it all in one. At the stages of your priming and stroke undercoating, you're not going to be too worried if there's a little bit of fallout on it. You can nib down in between coats. But what I'm going to be doing is getting these all primed up and undercoated today and then coming back to this room to spray these along with the woodwork. And you're going to say, what paint are we using? Right, I'm going to say a big thanks to the people over at Lick Pro because they have reached out to me and said, Phil, would you like to try some more of our paint? I've got a playlist doing another room that I did with Lick Pro paint. Very pleased with it. The only negative I would say is my choice of colour. I used matte black on the walls and it's a nightmare touching it and polishing up. my fault. And Charlie at Lick Pro has reached out to me and said, Phil, would you like to try another colour that might be a little bit more forgiving? So Lick Pro have supplied me with a few sample tins of paint, which is ample for what I'm needing on here. Don't think this is a sponsored video. If I don't like the paint, I'll tell you. You know how honest I am. I'm honest, Phil. I'll give you the ins and outs of the paint that I'm using for you to make a decision if you wanted to try it. But my results I've had previously using Lick Pro eggshell and matte paint have been good. So I can't knock the paint. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be actually colour drenching this room, albeit the ceiling will be a different colour. You'll come onto that on another video. My walls are going to be the same colour as the woodwork. The difference will be the walls will be a matte finish and the woodwork stroke these alcove cabinets will be in an eggshell finish. Now the woodwork I'm planning on spraying, the radiator I'm planning on spraying, the sills I'm spraying, the ceiling I'll brush and roll, and the walls I'll brush and roll. Now I can see that you're looking at this colour now. Now this is my own house. This is what you call colour wash. It's a two-tone effect. This has been on these walls 17 years. I love colour wash. This has stood the test of time. It's a nice painted finish, that's all I'm going to say, but we're time for a change. We are going for a more of a pinky colour in this room. Mrs. B has picked the colours and we have gone for a, well, it's actually Lick Pro Red 03. You'll see it when we do it. The ceiling is white 06, which will be another Lick Pro paint, and you know, you can get Lick Pro paints from Screwfix. And if I can see on here, the red, oh, I've lost it. Can't see for looking. There you go. The red 03 is that, which is a bit of a, you just see salmon pinky colour. And then the white 02, can't even see it. The white 06 is the complementary colour. Hopefully you can see it there. Can you see it? The white 06 is there, which is a complementary colour to that red 03. And that's what we're going to be doing. Right. Another shout out to Charlie at Lick, because he did also send me a sample of this. They do Lick tape and drape now. Now this is recyclable. You can get it in a 1.4 metre, and he's also sent me the smaller size, which is the 55 drop. I've used it on my window there. Can you see? It tapes up at the top. It's all on the roll. You don't need a special taping applicator. The only thing is my window's quite big and I just fell short, so I've just ran some paper, what's that, 30 centimetre paper around it with some tape on that as well. So I've done that. Now, right, cracking on, we've got to move on. What are we doing with this MDF? Now this MDF is moisture resistant. Now, you don't need to do anything with these edges on moisture resistant. You can just paint it, prime it, get an undercoat on, and then start rubbing it down to get them nice and smooth. You don't need to be going around with any filler or fine surface filler. But what I'm going to do is just a bit of an experiment. You can hear me rattle canning away. I've got some Smith Roger's Blockade. Now I'm going to just lightly blast over these edges with some of this shellac based primer. I'll just go around it. I'm going to say again, you don't need to do this, but I want to experiment with what it's like if I do, or I will be, using the shellac based Blockade on these edges. If you've got ordinary MDF that's not the quality of this, you'll probably find that they'll start furring up on the edges where it's been cut. So something like this on it, or brushing over with some guards, some oil-based undercoat, or even just building it up with your emulsions or your undercoats that are water-based will get your edges good. Some MDF takes more work than another, if that makes sense. But this is pretty smooth, and I'm just going to blast it over with that. So I'm going to do that off camera. You'll see it when I come back to it, when I've got the paint out, and I'm going to be spraying these up with a first coat of, it's a bit overkill. I've got some Bin Aqua, mainly for the reason I'd got some of this on the van and it's in the workshop, not going to spare, but you know what I mean. I didn't need to buy any other paint. I will use this as the primer, thin down, and then I will be giving it another coat of this. Once the primer's dry and I've done any corking up or any filling that needs to be addressed, then I will be finishing off with that as an undercoat. Once that's all dry, nib down again, and I will start bringing this forward with a couple of coats of the Eggshell Lick Pro paint. So that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to be doing. Another couple of things I'll just mention. I know we're 10 minutes in. Right, any cracks? I've got a fireplace there, the heat around the fireplace, there is some cracks just around there. I've raked them out and I have just touched over those bare edges with some peel stop, ready for filling later, beyond the other videos that I'm going to be doing. I have got an issue there where there's a little bit of efflorescence from when they did a bit of plastering around there and put some old style bricks in. A bit of moisture came out through the plasterwork, left a little bit of residue on the surface of powder, efflorescence. Thankfully that peel stop will act as an alkali primer across there. So that's, I'm going to say historic, it's been like it for the last 15 odd years, so I'm not going to worry about it now. I will be filling that over later. A few little bits of peeling paint around the coving at the top. Again, I've scraped and put some peel stop over, and I've got the odd one or two nail pops which I've knocked off the popped plaster, screwed it back in tight, and I've just literally touched it over with peel stop. Mainly for the fact that when I've come with the filler to fill over them, I don't want too much moisture from the filler being sucked straight into it. I want it to adhere nicely. So while I got peel stop out, I've actually, can you see up there? I've actually gone and just touched those in. So other than that, we're about good to go. I'll get paint out and everything like that. I'll get blockaded up now. I will be taking the doors off, taking the hinges off and the likes. Nothing else to report. Usual rubbing down prep of your woodwork when I come to that. And this floor, I have used the Hippo floor protector on it. I have gone around the edges with tape, and the tape that I've used for the edges, right, the tape that I've used for going around the edges, I've got a new one here, is the mask tape, and it's the red one. Now the red one sticks to brick, and I've clearly used it around there as well. I've gone around the carpet edge with that. I'd actually got a 2-inch, a bit wider, and I've tucked it onto the actual skirting board and got a putty knife scraper and just pushed it down so it creeps underneath where the carpet edge is. So that's what I've just done around the sides to protect those. And other than that, it's just your usual prep and use your common sense. So let's get spraying, even though it's only a rattle can. Right, I hope you can hear me over the max vac running. That's just keeping the air nice and clean for me. Now I've tipped out the bin aqua. Seems quite thin when you mix it up. I've strained it straight through a straining bag. Have a look in my description on the links below through Amazon. You can get them through there. That, or just pop into Sainsbury's, Asda or Lidl and buy vegetable bags. Now I've tipped this into my brewer's paint kettle. Now I've added, well, there's probably about 2 litres of paint in there, and I've added enough water that when it runs off the mixing stick, watch, it runs straight into the paint. Now hopefully that will be thin enough to spray with that 1.5. So keep fingers crossed for me. Now I hope you can hear me over the, well, QT5 sprayer and the max vac that's running at 75% just to keep the air fresh. Now I've tried the paint on a sample card there. That thin ratio seems spot on. I've got a fan pattern of about 4 or 5 inch, if that, and I'm going to start with the bottom shelf there and work my way up. Nothing complicated, don't overthink it, take your time, don't rush it. Don't go too slow because you'll be putting too much paint on, but don't go too fast that you're not putting enough on. Now this will be the primer coat. I'm not expecting it to cover. Once I've got the primer coat on and I'm happy, I will go over it with another coat as an undercoat. Then I can give the rubbing down and nibbing down. If you've needed any filling to do it after your primer coat, but do your rubbing down after your undercoat. Don't rub down at this stage, you'll scratch the MDF. I can take my mask off a bit sooner when I've got the max vac running. It makes it so much better for the air. Now, that amount of paint going on was just nice. It's only like a mist primer coat. Now you probably saw me swap the spray tip round from being that way to that way, mainly because my arm was aching, so my skills of spraying suddenly went out the window because I got wrist ache. But as a mist stroke primer coat, I'm very happy with that. Now, there was a little bit of dust in there still from the joiner. I had dusted down and vacked up, but the beauty with using, I'll get it, the HVLP is if you pull the trigger back, I won't do it because there's still pressurization in the, if you pull it part way back, that releases air out the end, but no paint. If you pull it full all the way back, you then get the paint coming through. So if you have got dust over a surface, you can use this as a duster and literally pull the trigger, let the air come out and dust off the surface. But where am I now with it? I'm pleased. That is a nice coat. I will probably start getting corked up on these a bit later today. But there we are. All I've got to do now is that one, which I won't subject you to, and I've just got to do the cabinet insides and the shelf. But other than that, they are the easy bits. That is the tricky bit. Using that remote pot, having the gun that can go any which way I want it to, is a lot easier than just using a gun that's got a pot underneath that you're restricted to the actual position. This is about 200 and odd quid for that kit, and it allows your gun to go any way you want, and that is the beauty of the remote pot actually on a QT5 HVLP. So that's where I am. You will see these more completed on other videos. I'm going to say to you at the end, I will show you some photos of these completed with the primer coat, but don't forget there'll be videos at the end for you to watch if there's something else that you're interested in. So for now, I'll sign out and I'll catch you in a little while. Right, that's the second coat gone on. I don't want to subject you to seeing all that. The principle was the same. What I did, I obviously made sure my fan pattern was still nice and made sure my paint flow was still giving enough paint, because if you're not putting enough paint on, it'll go very dry on the atomization, and yeah, it's better to give a wet coat on things. Don't overload it because you'll get runs. But that's gone on nicely. Now I'm going to let that dry. In between the first coat and second coat, I did just go around the edges, round the sides, just with some cork, just to bead them all up. That was drying off nicely, and then I came back and gave it that second coat. I'm bits everywhere at the minute. That's where I am. That is now ready, once it's dried off, to actually do any final little bits of filling, fine surface, and there might be a few joints just in there where the back panels or against the side panels. I might just put a fine bead of cork in those, but that is when it's dry. Also, this is the stage after the second coat and it's dry that you give it your nib down. Once you've nibbed it down, you'll see how nice it is, because you really left it until the second coat. If you nib it down on the first coat before the second, any areas that are, let's just say, light on your coating will rub through. I don't want that. I've given it 2 coats, then I will give it the nib down, and that's when you'll do your dusting off and just a bit of a clean up before you start putting your finished coats on. But that's me really done for today. I'm just going to wait till it's all dried off a little bit more, and then I'll wash my kit out. Dead easy, just cold water, particularly with that aqua bin. Cold water, once you've flushed it all through, then swap over to a bit of warm water, a bit of soap in it, that'll be fine. But my plan is, for the next stage, some of it you'll see, some of it you won't. I will get all the woodwork rubbed down, just a fine gold Mercer Gold Flex pad, because this previously was oil eggshell, and I know what oil eggshell it was. It was Crown's oil eggshell in Magnolia stroke Gardenia. I think it was probably Gardenia, which is soft white on the Crown colour card. It's Gardenia on the Dulux colour card. But I'll nib all my woodwork down, and I will be planning on just giving it a waft light coat of this bin aqua tomorrow on all the areas that are oil based, just so I've got a nice system coming through. The Lick Pro paint doesn't need an undercoat. You can go straight over oil-based or water-based paints with their paint system. Just give it a rub down, dust off, and 2 coats should be fine. If you're going on big changes of colour, you might need an extra coat. But all in all, it's actually quite an easy paint system to work with. But I just want to make sure that any oil-based areas have now got a grip coat primer on, which they will do. By tomorrow. That'll be the sills, skirting boards, and things like that. So all in all, really good. Please watch the videos at the end. Nothing else to report, and I will see you on the next instalment of doing this room makeover.